Welcome to CBS Easy.
So what happens when our most personal identities, our gender, our religion, our community, step into the public square? Today, we're going to explore the really essential and sometimes explosive role that these social divisions play in politics. We'll look at how a democracy, especially in a place like India, has to deal with these complex fault lines.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the basic link between democracy and social differences. Then, we'll dive deep into the big three: gender, religion, and caste. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by understanding why facing these divisions isn't just an option for a democracy, it's absolutely necessary. Let's get into it.
Okay, first up, let's set the stage a little. In any democracy, having a society full of different kinds of people is totally normal. It's just a fact of life. But here's the real question. When do those differences become deep divisions? And when do they start to create political inequality?
I really want you to keep this question in the back of your mind as we go. How do the things that literally make us who we are, our gender, our faith, our background, actually end up shaping laws, elections, and who holds power on a massive national scale?
Now, this brings us to a point that might seem a little backwards at first, but it's super important. A lot of people think that bringing up social differences in politics is dangerous. But a key idea here is that the exact opposite is true. A healthy democracy doesn't try to silence these issues. It creates a space for them to be heard so the conflicts can be worked out.
Let's start with our first big division, gender. This is a social hierarchy that's so common, we often just think it's natural, or that it's just a private family thing. But as you're about to see, that line between what happens in the home and what happens in the halls of power is way thinner than you might think.
And here we go, our first exam to learn. The sexual division of labor. Definitely pay attention to this one. The most important thing to remember here is that this isn't about biology at all. It's a system built on social stereotypes that decides who does what and how much that work is valued, purely based on gender.
This is that classic stereotype in action, right? We're often brought up to see the world split in two: the private world of the home, which is seen as women's space, and the public world of work and politics, which is seen as men's. But is reality really that simple?
No way. The reality is that most women do a massive amount of work outside the home, both paid and unpaid, on top of all the domestic work. We're talking about everything from fetching water in villages to working in city offices. The big problem is that this work often isn't seen as valuable, or sometimes it's not even recognized as work at all.
This brings up a really fantastic question. Why are we talking about household chores in a political science explainer? What on earth does cooking and cleaning have to do with government and power?
And boom, there's your answer. If politics is, at its core, all about power, then the power dynamics inside a family are absolutely political. It's the very root of a much bigger system of inequality that stretches all the way into public life.
Which leads us to our next exam alert, the word feminist. And let's be clear, it's not some radical idea. It's simply the belief in equal rights and opportunities. Feminist movements got organized to take these so-called private issues and make them public, demanding equal rights, including the most basic one, the right to vote.
You can just feel that spirit of mobilization right here in this poster from Bengal. This isn't just a piece of art, it's a political statement. It's a visual demand for recognition, a powerful way of saying, we are here and we are strong in the public arena.
But the stakes here are incredibly, tragically high. This poster from South Asia points to a horrifying reality. That phrase, 50 million women missing, it refers to the actual life and death results of gender discrimination, from things like sex-selective abortion and neglect to outright violence. It makes the political fight for equality a genuine matter of survival.
Okay, so from gender, we now pivot to another incredibly powerful social force, religion. Like gender, it's a deeply personal part of who we are, but its relationship with politics can be just as complicated and sometimes even more explosive.
See, the thing about religion's role in politics is that it's not just one thing. On the one hand, you had leaders like Gandhiji who believed religion was a source of vital ethics for politics. On the other hand, you have human rights groups using it to demand protection for minorities. And then, at the same time, women's movements often have to challenge religious family laws, arguing they're discriminatory. So it can be a source of moral guidance, a tool for protection, and a subject of intense debate all at once.
And that leads us to another key term for your exams: family laws. Basically, these are the rules that govern personal stuff like marriage, divorce, and inheritance. In India, these laws are often different depending on your religion, and that becomes a huge political battleground over what's fair and what's equal.
But of course, there's a really dangerous side to all this. The problem isn't religion itself, but something called communalism. That's what happens when religion is used as a political tool, when one group's beliefs are presented as superior and are used to dominate others. That's when you get conflict and deep division.
And now for our last major topic, caste. Now, unlike gender and religion, which we see everywhere, the caste system is a unique kind of social hierarchy. It's especially entrenched in the Indian subcontinent, and it carries a long, painful legacy.
All right, time for our final exam alert, caste hierarchy. This is the core concept you need to get. Think of it like a rigid social ladder where your place is decided the moment you're born. And historically, that position dictated everything: your job, your social status, even who you were allowed to talk to. Now, while the caste system is officially outlawed, its effects definitely haven't disappeared. But modern life is challenging it. As more people move to cities, as younger generations pick completely new professions, and, this is a big one, as every single citizen gets one vote, those old, rigid structures are starting to weaken, but they are far, far from gone. This slide brings up a feeling that's actually really common, and you can totally understand it. Some people feel like, hey, if we just stop talking about caste, maybe it'll go away. Are we just keeping it alive by discussing it? But the immediate counterargument is this really sharp question. Will just being silent about it make inequality disappear? Or does silence just let the old systems of domination continue without any challenge? The point is, you have to talk about it precisely because it's a source of real inequality. Okay, let's pull all these threads together now. We've talked about gender, religion, and caste. We've seen how they shape our private lives and our public politics. So what's the big takeaway from all this?
So, what's the bottom line? A healthy democracy isn't one that pretends these social divisions don't exist, it's one that faces them head-on. Its real strength comes from giving every group, especially those who've been pushed to the margins, a voice to talk about their needs and demand equality. The expression of these differences isn't the threat, the silence is. And that leaves every democracy with one fundamental question: are we really listening?
Thank you for watching with us. See you next time.